What's going on, you guys, and welcome to Sith Happens, a Star Wars podcast. I am Eric the Dadalorian, and thank you guys for joining us today. So, I got a co-host with me. He is voted most likely trying to headbutt a lightsaber without his Cortosis helmet. He got drunk and tried to seduce a Sarlacc pit one time, and he is the Jabba to my hut. It is my boy, Matty Ice. How you doing, man?
I think of myself more as the Xanadu to your blood, but we'll take it as it comes. Little Cad Bane drop there.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I like that. So,
I am
but yeah,
Matty
man.
Ice. Don't let me not plug myself, dude. I am Matty Ice, to others known as Black Series Daily Desk on Instagram.
Yeah, man. How was vacation last week?
It was good. It was good. I watched the episode a little bit late last week. It was very tough, as you know, to avoid the internet. I'm sure you went through with some withdrawal without my contact on my long journey.
Yes.
It was fun. I got to go to a comic store in Salem, Massachusetts, and get a Legends graphic novel, the first physical comic book that I've bought in a decade. And I'm saving it for my next long trip to read. A lot of the Legend stuff I forgot about. It's a comic about, during the Age of Rebellion. So pretty stoked on it. They only had volume 2, but I think I'll be able to figure out what's going on without reading volume 1.
I think you'll be all right. So,
tell you what, avoiding the internet for a day and a half to watch last week's episode was turf, but I made it work.
Yeah, man. And so we had my boy Gianni last week, as you saw. Great episode shooting with him last week. Last week I thought it was all right, nothing fantastic and everything. We are going to get into this week's episode. But before we go any further, we want to just let you guys know that, if you have not seen the most recent episode, we encourage you to potentially stop where you're at right now. Just go view it, because this is your spoiler warning. But yeah, so classic. We are going to get into episode 7 of the Acolyte today. I took down a bunch of notes and everything just as we were going along. You and I were texting throughout the whole thing, basically. And I am just going to go ahead and lead off with, firstly, was a flashback, as I kind of expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Secondly, not a great episode. I didn't hate it, but I think there was just things in it I just wasn't particularly a fan of, and it's more not even just like it was the story. I think just the way the story that was told to us, I wasn't a big fan of it, man.
Yeah, it has what I think is the biggest sin, and I felt this way about last week. I know I was on the podcast. Thanks for Johnny for pitch hitting, guys. Everybody in the audience, I will be back pretty permanently now. I was getting into my summer shit. It has the cardinal sin, I think, last week and this week for me of something, and that is that I felt nothing. So, in my opinion, be great or be terrible. There is nothing worse than making somebody feel nothing, right? Like, ultimately, if I thought it was awesome, I'd come on the episode with so much excitement. If I felt like it sucked, I'd come on our episode with like, this is why it sucked. I don't feel anything. Like my enthusiasm is to talk to my best friend here, Mr. Dadalorian, but I felt nothing. I think we can get through at the end. I can tell you where, as we're going on in the show, there's a major flaw in this show.
Yeah.
I'll just kick into it now, and that is pacing.
Yeah.
It made episodes 4 and 5 could have been one episode. This episode,
yeah, definitely.
This episode could have even been merged with episode 6 and really just played it up. I think they could have done it by cutting between things. I think they are hitting a point where at first, because you got the payoff in episode 5 and you were so excited for that payoff, they really had you on your seat. The flashback, I remember I said in the cast about the flashback.
What I was most afraid of after episode 5, to tell you the truth, too.
I agree. Yeah, I just think that there were some interesting things in this episode, and it keyed on nothing they didn't build on anything that I thought was interesting. There were moments where I got kind of excited, and like it landed with a fart sound. Is like it was just when we were done. My wife and I really
landed with a poodoo.
Yeah, with a poodoo.
Yes, so,
Pentapoodle.
and I agree, man. Like ever since, like, and that's like I said, that's what I was afraid of after episode 5. I was like, after big episodes like that, there's usually like this real drawback. And
Mm-hmm.
I liked episode 6 personally. Like, I didn't think it was the greatest episode, but I thought the interactions in episode 6 with Osha and Chimera were
That was
really good.
great.
Actually, I
I'll
thought
give you
that
that.
was
Yeah.
fantastic. Actually, I loved that. But this episode, just I like I said, I don't hate it, but it just wasn't fantastic in my eyes in the slightest. And it was because I just had some issues with it. Like, there was just things in it um that just didn't make sense to me. If
I
that
agree.
makes sense.
No, I agree.
And let's go like little bit by little bit through the episode. Firstly, like I said, flashback as we expected. I kind of figured we were going to go that after the way Soul was talking with May back on the ship. And I like the way it opened up the camp. I really love the Easter egg drop of it's not wise to
Absolutely.
insult a Wookiee's cooking. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Good nod to episode 1 with that there. So, and one of the other things I actually did like about this, and it's probably one of the things you don't know because I know you haven't read the book.
Oh no, I know the hyperspace disaster.
Okay, exactly, so you do. Okay, so yeah, I was going to say that
I like that. Great Easter eggs.
Yes, very good Easter egg towards Light of the Jedi with that one, and I was like, I kind of was wondering if they were going to expand a little bit on it. If they did, the episode might have been better. But it's kind of going into that, and then saying they're here looking for a virgins in the Force and everything like that. I was like, and I know some people are kind of get pissed, like, oh, it was like a whole miracle with Anakin and everything. I was like that, yeah, but there's other things can happen. I don't hate that they were that was what they were there looking for. I think the biggest thing, and it was really brought on right away, is like, why is Torben so hell bent on getting back to Coruscant? Like, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was really petulant and weird. And I think the thing about the Anakin thing, I'm not going to derail us too far, but I fucking am, so whatever.
It's what we do, bro.
Yeah, it's not a miracle. In canon, in the comic books, they state that they kind of like retcon, so like you're not sure if it's Plagueis or Palpatine, but ultimately, or Sidious, they manipulated Anakin as sort of like a side plot, like one of their many hustles and Palpatine's visions. They manipulated Anakin. That's clearly stated in the comics. So this is a thing. He wasn't a miracle. He was an aberration created by the Sith. The Force drove it, and as we watch, and we're going to do a Mortis episode, he genuinely did have that power to bring balance, and that's where he fucked everything up. Yeah. But ultimately, that may be a coincidence. That might have been the Force's will and the visions. So remember, the visions that people have don't necessarily relate to what the final product is. So it could have been the Force moving Palpatine or Plagueis from their vision to do this and create this like thing, and that was their master plan. But then ultimately, it gave him the power to do what needed to be done and actually bring that balance. Neither here nor there. What I'm basically saying is, when people get mad about this shit, I think they ignore every piece of canon. With that said, there was an opportunity to make that aspect of it meatier, because that's interesting, right? Like, we all know something fucked up happened, although I will say, and we'll get to this, seeing a Wookiee Jedi fight kind of fucked. The show continues to have the best fight scenes with lightsabers that they've done since Phantom Menace. And,
I will admit that. I will admit that 100%. So I think for me, just this episode, just like I don't even know if it's inconsistencies, but just the way that they played the story out, it just didn't too. Yeah, let's we're gonna jump ahead on this a little bit, I guess. But the Jedi, they go through the whole thing, testing the kids, getting there and everything. That's pretty much all good to go. I thought the scene where Anastasia gets into Torben's head, I thought seeing it from Torben's perspective was actually kind of cool. And
I like that.
I admit I like that too. It was kind of interesting, and I like the very dark vibe to it. I'm into that type of shit. And I liked I liked that stuff. And that was really up until that point. I think I was like enjoying it. Because after that, it cuts really into them coming back in there because Torben loses his shit, and he's just like, all right, we gotta go get him. We gotta get to Coruscant. And it's like, why?
There
Like,
were
why?
much better ways to do that. It could have. I mean, like for me, just fucking go back to get them that night. Like have the
Yeah,
Jedi decide to go back and get them. I appreciate they're trying to build this cover up. I think first
yeah,
of all, this episode would have landed a lot better if it was last week's episode and it was a
yeah,
three-way cut between. He knows it's fucking May. Let it happen
yeah,
at the beginning of the episode. Let him start telling the story. Then we cut between him on the ship with May, telling the story, and the stuff with the stranger and Osha, which was awesome last week. The last week's
yeah,
episode for me was also left me like because I felt like they're taking too long to get to the point here, and it's
yeah.
making me almost be like I don't just end it. Like let's just get. I don't even know how they're going to stick this landing at this point, and it's tough because you and I
It's
were apologists for this show. So for anybody that said we were shills,
yeah, it's dead
we're
ass.
just real.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. And like honestly, it really was up until this episode. I really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because and like we said, Torben goes back going crazy. We gotta get them, blah blah blah. And Soul is just like, okay, yeah, let's go in there and get them because he sees the sisters or whatever. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense really
Yeah,
because they get in there and the whole big scene happens with Anastasia, which those of you who are watching right now, if you've seen it, she does some shit. I don't
and
know
that was
what
cool. You're
it
going
was.
into
It
Night Sister
was
Land.
like, firstly, the visuals on it was really cool. Like
Oh, the
it
effects are
wasn't even
fantastic.
it
Yeah,
wasn't even a Night Sister. It was like honestly, she went kind of Death Eater on it,
yeah,
realistically, and just like
yeah,
shadowed up. And he's just like, okay, yeet. Like
yeah. That was
honestly,
it was so out of character, and it's an interesting thing because we know him.
exactly.
We know him, now in the show, and this is 16, years ago, and they presented him as this really noble kind of like
Yeah,
Qui-Gon esque Jedi. And there's a parallel here that the youngling's too old, but like I'm not even going to give them that based on the characterization of him, like as far as like
yeah,
it being Qui-Gon esque. And I think it was such a different characterization. And Indira, like, listen, I am all for showing the beginning of the flaws of the Jedi, but this was
yes.
just like wild. Like, who are these people? Like, this is the B
Yeah,
Squad at this point.
yeah,
It was, yeah,
that's just it, man. It wasn't even like it was like Jedi, like you said, man. It was just like this is nothing, and this is High Republic era. Like I get it,
yeah,
this is the start of the downfall of it,
yeah.
realistically, but like this is the High Republic era. This is like not what Jedi of this time were doing. Like,
No, yeah, absolutely. It's just, listen, I'll even give the Torben thing, all right? You want to keep that? Great. I just felt like the characterization of Saul, and it was so interesting when I was watching it, because little things, like
yeah,
when, you saw how Torben got his scar. I was like, oh, that's how he got it. Cool. Like
yeah,
Kelnaka kind of attacking. I could get down with that. And also, props to Junos Santora, whatever his last name is, that plays all the Wookiees, because he
hmm
started out as just being the guy that was filling in for Peter Mayhew for the
yeah,
stuff where he had to run in The Force Awakens. And now he's swinging a lightsaber. Good for that
yeah.
guy. But
Come a long
yeah,
way.
I found myself having little snippets of this in here where I was like almost like trying to get myself excited, and then I gave up.
Yeah,
It's just the whole thing. And like, first of all, I just have a question. So, in order to unpossess Kilnaka, did Indira just murk all the witches with the Force? Like, did
and
she put him to
that
sleep?
was a question I
Did
had
she,
too, honestly.
did she
Like
put him to sleep?
it just didn't make a lot of sense because like like they possessed him, right, and she basically had him in like a leg chokehold. She trinity'd his ass basically.
Yeah. By the way, they
But
did a nod to the Matrix music when she put him in the chokehold and jumped. Go back and listen. It's like the
I'm gonna need to
lightest
check
nod to the
that.
Matrix music. And I
I'm gonna need to
really
check it.
dug that. I picked it up. I was like that, like da 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 da, like that. Like yeah, it was cool.
Gotcha. I'm gonna
Another
need to go
good
back
Easter
and
eggs.
rewatch that part.
Good Easter
Yes,
eggs.
it had great Easter eggs on the
Yeah.
episode, but like, and then like that, but like the scene with her where she gets into Kelnaka's mind, and then it just like 19 witches just drop dead. It was just like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
even like
I was just confused. Like how like what happened?
like they should have shown you her entering their minds or like putting them to
Yeah,
sleep, and then like the thing fell and that was an accident. Like this was a huge bungle, right? You want to go with like,
yeah.
if it was the military, it's like on par. It's just terrible, right? Like, so pick our bungles, especially
No,
in
that's
the last 20
someone in the
years. It's
military. We
yeah,
call it just foobar. So
it's FUBAR. Yeah, and like here's the thing, like I don't know what we were. This is why I think this needed to be in the last episode as like a third thing that was going on.
yeah,
We all knew it went bad we all were getting really excited,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what they did last episode with what was going on the ship went so long for him to say, "I'm going to tell you what happened." There was nothing they truly could have done with this episode unless it was like above and beyond to make us excited. But what
Yeah.
they did do, first of all, I think every episode of the show either needs some of them could have been combined, like I said, and they all needed to be 60 minutes. Like there needed to even be more here to explain a little more of what was going on.
Yeah.
The soul thing was just, like he was so impulsive and he was so like chided by Master Indira. It just the whole thing, like it made you now not like Soul, where you felt he was so
It kind
conflicted
of
and you wanted to know
did.
what was going on and what's this cover up. Like like they're covering up stupidity. Like I can't like
That's
explain it.
really
Like
what it is.
yeah,
Like, yeah, it just
it
didn't
was
make sense. Like, like Indara goes and covers this whole goddamn thing up, and it's just like, it's not because she's like,
yeah
oh, think of that girl, whatever. It's like, dude, listen, they can figure out something for her. She doesn't have to be a Padawan or anything like that.
yeah
Like it's y'all just did some really gnarly shit. Like, the CIA has done less gnarly shit in Vietnam than this shit right
yeah.
here. So
Well, it's the whole thing, and it was like Indira was like, "Don't do it," and then they fucked up, and she's like, is she covering her ass too? Like,
yeah,
I
I
feel
don't.
like the way they made her say this little girl lost her family. There's like shades of what they did that it needed more. It needed more,
Yeah,
like and like the Torben thing, whatever. It's fine. He wanted to go home, but him being the catalyst for them going back and making Saul sort of passive in that and take his opportunity, the way Saul was like, I feel connected to her. Like it felt like he was desperate for a Padawan, right? Like when,
yeah.
and
That's I
he's
thought the same, man. It was weird.
yeah. And there's you're hearing me pour my soda if that's being picked up on camera. There was just a lot of opportunity here that I think was missed, and I think it was missed because this was one episode, and it didn't need to be just in this episode. And I think the pacing of it, like
So
I wanted to know what was going on back with Osha and the stranger, Quimir, her and him, and it's just like last week, like the stuff there was brilliant. Didn't love the Vader breathing at the end, but that's fine. It's just they're really gonna have to stick this landing. Like my
yeah,
wife, when we were done, was like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Eh." And she was like, "Eh." And she goes, "I'm gonna be honest. Like the way it's been dragging out since episode 5, I'm just kind of ready for it to be over." And I think a part of that is symptomatic of what this did to the community. The first couple
I don't.
episodes, I think
In
it's
a
just like
way, I think.
I'm burned out a little on Acolyte. I think at this point, it's unfortunate, but the pacing on these last 2 episodes, there was like a little bit of like a fuck all you, this is great, and I'm this champion, and now I'm just like, well, now I don't think the storytelling is good, and that's fine.
And
It's just
I
it's an
don't
element of like
disagree.
what like that's yeah, and that's why it just wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. It just kind of was. It didn't give me anything. The Easter eggs were cool. The tapping into stuff was cool. I liked initially the Padawan thing, the Qui-Gon, the older Padawan. But the
Yeah,
reason they brought her in was like weird. Like all of a sudden in there, again, like it was just. I know we had a lot of notes, so I'm sorry, but it
it's good,
just
man. It's like, I think realistically, we could, at the end of the day with this, we both were just. I know we've been talking about since episode 5. Like episode 5, it was a little bit down last week, and then I personally think if they combined last week and this week's, like you said, I think the episode as a whole would have gone way down for me. Just
way
because I
better
think
trajectory.
no, like I think I would have liked it all less at that point. Like I really
Really?
enjoyed. Yes, I really enjoyed it last week, even though there was like, it was slower. I sometimes enjoy that because I feel like you can get more of the story at that point. And I thought the way they told the story last week was much better. And I just think the way that they did the story, as far as like what they were telling, what happened initially, it just it had too many concepts that just didn't make sense for me. Like, why does he want to get back to Coruscant so bad? Why is he just like, he's a Padawan. They have like really like, they're still learning obviously, but they're real
Yeah.
disciplined by that point. And he just says, "Oh fuck it, yeet," and takes the
Yeah.
speeder bike there. And I'm just like, it just didn't make sense. And then Dara covering it, and it was like, and you could tell from the beginning she was this hard ass of a Jedi
Yeah.
master. and it was just like it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like there's just too much like flip flopping on stuff. It kind of
Yeah.
just I don't know, man. Like, I hate to say that I didn't like it because I have enjoyed the series really much up until now,
Yeah.
even despite all the nasty stuff going on within the community for it. Like you said, we getting tired of the acolyte because of like the way the community's been, and I get that, believe me. And I've kind of dealt with it at a point where it's just I've just kind of managed to block it out and everything that much. Sometimes I just make fun of the people who hate it so
Yeah.
much, and I guess that gives me a little ego boost. I don't know, but at the end of the day, this one fell
Yeah, I
really
think,
flat for me.
yeah, and to like just like elaborate where I'm going with it is, I think I was really juiced up on liking it. I think the last two, and like I get what you're saying. I just feel like they dragged the stuff on the ship out way too long in
I
the
get
last
that.
episode. I think the stuff going on the unknown planet or unnamed planet was great. I think he's
Yeah,
fantastic, Manny Jacinto. Like great at that character and a different way to
best
look at a
character
Sith.
of the series, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, a different way to look at a person. The dark sider, right?
Yeah,
Like he's very seductive. It's really being seduced by the dark side. His justifications are
Dark's
less about
triceps
like
can take me to the dark side any day.
I know seriously. God, I wish I looked like that guy. But no,
Yes,
holy Sith.
yeah.
Like that was,
Is
but
that the next podcast name?
yeah, our holy Sith. That's our spinoff with the
Yeah,
host. It's just part of our Sith multiverse. Our Sith Happens multiverse. We'll have like Ant and Gianni do those. But no, but
yeah,
it's
man.
and I love that. I love what they did with that, and I think it took too long to get here. I'm going to disagree about. I think it all should have been spliced together, but I just think for me, there was this real momentum in really liking it. And like you and
Yeah.
I even took a back seat, on some of the communities and not getting as involved because we didn't want Star Wars to be spoiled. And then we slowly went back in. There was something last week I was like, all right, well, they're getting us there. I'll
Mhm.
deal with it. That episode was probably like a 6.5 for me, maybe just
Yeah.
because of the split I didn't like. But
I think
this
me and
was like,
Gianni gave it about an 8, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
personally liked it a lot. So
yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah,
This deflated me a little bit, and maybe it's an ego thing that I was saying it's actually good and the storytelling is good. It's just there was so much we want to know, and there were things that we like. There's a whole interview with Leslie Hyland about she always wanted to telegraph that Clymer was the stranger. It was about how they revealed it that made it so good, and I fully agreed. It's about leaving breadcrumbs, but if you pay off those breadcrumbs, it doesn't really matter if it's a twist, and I think they did a
yeah.
really good job of that.
I got into a
They
big
did
ass
that.
internet fight about that because everyone
Yeah,
was like, "Why was it such a good reveal? It was so obvious." I was like, "So what? It was still freaking sick."
it was fucking awesome. But like, but like, my thing is that's what they were trying to do with this episode,
Hmm.
and it didn't pay off, and it felt off
Yeah,
altogether, just a little bit off, and it's a bummer because it's the second to last episode
yeah,
in the
and
series. I mean, maybe low expectations for me with next week will pay off because when we talk next week, I'll
yes,
be like, sweet fuck yeah, this
I
Sith
am
happened.
hoping.
But
So I know that there's a character, or there's somebody that they had cast for a major role that hadn't been revealed yet. And the theory is that that person is going to potentially come in as like the Sith Master, Lord, whatever you want to call him, to Chimera.
what
So
actor?
I can't remember his name. I'll have to go back and look at it now and everything. 'Cause
God damn it, dude.
I wish I snipped it for the show. I was swamped at work
Just
today.
put it
So
up on screen when we do the. It's that guy. We love him. This is crazy. Look, I'm pointing. That's where he's going to go.
I'll see if I can put it in. I'll see if I can
Yeah,
find it. But
yeah, no, yeah. Well, they have that cast picture, the cast list, or whatever. But yeah,
yeah.
and there was even stuff last week that I loved. Like, have you seen the theories about the scars on his back?
Yes,
That
that
he was
one
Indira's,
is
not Indira. He was Vernestra's
Vanestras. Yep,
Padawan,
I
and
very much agree with that.
I think that would be. And you know what? I love that. And there was an interview with Highland where she said there's a reason we played the Kylo Ren theme. It's very specific and it's going to pay off. So if they pay off the Knights of Ren that we've all been thinking, sick.
Yeah.
I'm more like this episode. It was tough, and it made me like. I would love to say I was a little sad that I didn't like it, but again, it's like
Yeah,
listen. In the end,
it's
that is what it is. I'll probably enjoy the finale. Maybe it'll make me enjoy it more if they really stick the landing. I just think
Yeah.
there's a lot of shit they've got to get through here. And the most interesting thing to me is how the twins were made and what their actual purpose was. And I feel like if they could have given you that, like, why couldn't they have shown up, the Jedi, just to get them? The council's like, like, bring them back just at a minimum so we can study them. And they go to get them, and when they do, they walk in and hear they're going to commit their spirit to this thing and possess Anastasia. Or she's going to let Osha go. But they walk in and they're like, well, how can we do this ritual without May? They're both supposed to get cast into this thing with it being just May. I mean, and the Jedi walk in on that and they're like, oh, fuck, no way. And then that starts the fight, and then they still could have possessed Kelnaka because I don't want to lose that Wookiee fight. I love the Wookiee fight. I can't stress
that was probably the best part of the episode in my opinion, because I really thought that it was cool. Like, firstly, Kelnaka looks sick as hell, possessed up and whatnot, but yeah, at the end of the day, I
know what else? Final gripe. I don't want to beat this into the ground. When he's holding them up, the platforms, just let it fall and catch both of them with the Force, or tell them to run the other fucking way. Like, even that was weirdly contrived. Like, the symbolism might have been, it's trying to hold the balance. Like, one of the things I think is interesting is if May is the dark and then Osha is the light, right? And then the corrupts they're like, were developed to be the yin and yang, and that was a part of why they wanted to leave the sisterhood. That could have been a thing that was discussed. It's just where they went with it. I feel like they focused on the absolute wrong shit. I feel like the Jedi, you almost wanted to play the Benny Hill theme for that whole thing. Like, why did he kill Mother Anastasia? Like, they took a show that I thought was making perfect sense and really enjoying. And even with last week, like, I give it a 6. Like, but you know me, I could change the rating. I've done it on Bad Batch when I see the episode it's connected to. I do that with the last 3 episodes of the Bad Batch. But like, I was like, now they stuck it. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But this specific episode, like, I can't see. I don't think anything in the next episode is going to make this better for me. I just think they've got to really knock my socks off. Because the correct phrase would be nonplussed.
Yeah, like I said it already, man. It just fell super flat for me. Like, and what we always do, we give ratings, right? Like, if we're gonna give ratings, it'll probably be the lowest rating I've ever given on an episode for anything. I think because I just didn't enjoy it. The series itself, I'm still enjoying. It's just this episode I did not like at all.
I'm still in. I'm pushing myself to get past this episode. We love Star Wars. Let's have hope. Yes. Rebellions are built on hope. Yes. Let me have it.
I'm gonna say probably a 4.
I'm a flat 5.
Okay.
Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. Felt nothing. 5. I think a 1 is like hate it. Right? And
I kind of looked at the 5 as like all right, I'm very neutral about it. It had good qualities to it, but overall, like, I think those things that I just mentioned that I had those major gripes with, I was just like, I wouldn't watch this again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would if I were when I rewatch the series at some point. But yeah, it's the 5 for me. I understand what you're saying. It's like neutral. I guess I'm kind of neutral. Like, there's things I didn't like. There were little moments I did like. I like the Easter eggs. I feel nothing. Like, it's not an episode I'll discuss. Like, there's nothing to theorize coming out of it. There's nothing. Like, we're, I think, kind of reaching here to not shit on it and find something to discuss. Because it's just, there's nothing to get excited about and theorize. There's nothing to not get excited about and theorize. It's just kind of like, let's push on. Is he a Knight of Ren? Is there a Sith? How does the Soul decide to go back instead of going to the Council? Does Soul have a master plan? Was Soul maybe at that time super into Quaaludes, and that's why he was behaving that way because he was coming down? I don't know. It took me out of a lot of things I was enjoying about the show. Like, last week, it took me a while to rationalize why Soul didn't know that it was May, and I've just decided he did know, and that's why he was overacting to her. Funny one, I know we're on this week, but one of my buddies was like, so, like, when a droid goes evil, do they just make its eyes red? Like, that's the best way to say not touch this toaster oven. Like, like,
I guess that would be a good nod to 3PO. And
I was good with that. I like that Easter egg. I'm not going to lie to you. I did. It was just my funny reaction. But yeah, We don't need to continue beating this dead horse.
No,
5.
it's
4 or
done
5.
and over, man. So,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to next week still.
me
Like
too.
I said, I think it could potentially still land super heavy. I think Manny Jacinto is
Yep.
killing it what he's doing, and I think he's going to help carry this last episode into something great, or at least I'm hoping that's what happens. So we'll see it in the end, man.
Let's hope they don't continue to talk about things that aren't interesting, and we'll go from there.
Yes,
I'm getting salty. I don't want to be salty. I'm
this
getting
one,
salty.
it was just for me. It was just the story. Like the story just didn't make
Yeah.
sense the way they told it. So as long as it makes sense, I'll be happy with it. So.
Yeah, I think they should make it a 10 episode series, and we just get an episode from everybody else's point of view, and you got to pick together what isn't the lie. Like now we're going to get it from Indira's point. I don't want that at all. But I mean, in the end, we can leave our final statement on it with my 5. I have hope the next episode is going to be really good. After this episode, I wonder how they're going to bring the story together, rationally. And I think they're both only about 40, 45 minutes each, so like probably like 39 in there with the credits. So they got a lot of ground to cover in a very little amount of time to make me a happy boy.
I thought the same thing.
I'm still excited for my action figure pre-orders. It sounds like they're all coming early. So we'll give you
it
that.
looks like they're hitting some of the stores across over in Cali already, actually. So we'll see those soon. But on to next week, though, right? So now next week as well, we actually have something great happening. And we put this on our page already, but we want to remind everyone that we have this amazing episode coming up next week, and because next week's going to be a double episode for us. We got Dimitri Karas and Ardashir Radpour coming onto the show on Wednesday, July 17th. So that we'll be going up probably like the 18th or 19th to give us a little bit of time on that. Both of these gentlemen, who are known for their works in series such as The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, as some of the stuntmen under the helmets of some of our favorite heroes and our villains, such as Stormtroopers, Clone Troopers, Tuskens, you name it, they've probably played it. So we actually, in addition to doing a Q&A session with these guys, we are also going to be giving away 4 autographed pieces of memorabilia from these gentlemen. We got 2 Black Series action figures, one from each of them signed, a Tusken Raider from Dimitri, and then a 501st Trooper from Ardashir. And then we also got a pretty decent sized photo autograph from each of them as well, a Clone Trooper for Ardashir and a Night Trooper actually for Dimitri. So the way that you guys can enter this contest is really simple. Go check the pinned posts on both my profile at _Dadalorian_ and at Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast, as well as my boy's page here at Black Series Daily Desk. I'll have him pin it to his profile. You go to any one of our profiles and it will bring you straight to the video that is the contest entry. Rules are super simple. Like the video, share it to your story, and tag the Sith Happens podcast page. And then also follow Sith Happens. And we will actually be picking winners at random via like the little spin wheel thing. And Ardashir and Dimitri will actually be announcing the winners themselves next week. So you might get a nice little message from these guys too.
I got one build on that, brother, that I just thought. I'm just gonna fucking throw it out there to get myself excited.
All right, what's that?
All right, when Eric gets that post up, comment one question you would like us to ask these 2 gentlemen, and we will pick our favorite question and ask it during the episode.
I'll tell you what, man. Let's do one better. Let's make a whole separate post on questions the folks want us to ask this.
Great.
In addition to that,
so, guys, it's like you're in our text threads right now,
yes.
brainstorming. Yeah.
So go check the profile for those 2. We'll actually pin both of those at the top of our profiles. We want some questions from you guys, so we can ask these guys. We're going to go ahead and do that right after the show. So please get involved. We want to hear from you and see what questions you have for these great actors. So.
Awesome.
Now,
that'll be great. I'm excited.
I'm so pumped, man. And we really gotta give a quick shout out to mine and Matt's friend, Mark Wallace, otherwise known as the Godfather of the Star Wars community. In all honesty, he is the one who got these autographs for us. The autographs on these things for us. He was the one who put me in touch with these guys to get on the show and just kind of come hang out and talk to you guys about their experiences in Star Wars. And maybe we even get a little drop of, if we're lucky, some future projects coming up.
Yeah, but we'll see how that NDA works. But also, big shout
Yeah.
out to Mark Wallace because you would not be listening to this if he was not
No.
the greatest dude ever. He introduced both of us to a guy named Brad Davis, who's a dear friend of ours,
Yep.
and that's how Eric and I met. So Mark Wallace,
Right.
literally, I say it to you all the time, and you say it. Just credit to our community and amazing human being who cares so much about collectors and fans. And I thank him immensely, and we'll do it again next week also.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, probably one of the best amongst us. And speaking of collectors, we got collector corner time, brother.
Something that makes us smile.
Yes. I finally got a new piece too, man.
I
So
think you
like
should get yours is
yeah,
cooler.
dude, I went on like this dry spell where I could not find anything good for weeks and weeks and weeks. I think this is the only thing I've purchased within like the last month or so. But I am super excited about it. So I I was waiting for this one because I don't pre-order because I like to always just get them in the store to make sure they're in good condition. But it was this guy right
Ooh,
here that I
daddy.
got. So hopefully it's not too much of a glare on there.
Hold him
But it's
closer. Hold
the
him closer. Oh
little
yeah,
glare.
that's nice. That's good
But yeah, so
Rex.
it is it's the new vintage collection Commander Rex from the Bad Batch, the Braca mission. Looks great. So the helmet comes off. It's got the double DC-17 blasters in it. And I really like the new card back on
Oh,
these
cool.
compared to the old ones. The older ones, it would have like the other ones that are coming out in that like similar line and everything right there. This one, it just looks nicer, honestly. Like it's got like it matches the front and everything on the color scheme and whatnot. But yeah, I was super excited about this one. I actually just did like a little reel about it yesterday. I think it's going to be great. I'm super excited to add it. It's actually my first vintage collection Rex because, as anybody knows, he's probably the hardest clone to find.
Yeah, I mean, even he sold out when they did the reissue. Like, I was freaked out because some of my open Rexes, I was like, are they going to be worth anything now? Not that I'd ever sell them when they did the reissue on Black Series. And it's like, nope, he sold out in
Yeah,
12 seconds. Yeah, I mean, fucking
I'm kicking
top
myself in the
five
ass for not
character.
ordering the Ahsoka from the Clone Wars line, to tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah, that was. Should have hopped on that, handsome. I
Should
mean,
have.
I've got, I think, two of her from this Clone Wars finale, but I've only got one of the Padawan, the one
Yeah.
with the two green sabers. Which, by the way, it should be a green and yellow saber. I'm not getting into that, but it should be a green and yellow saber on that figure. But anyway, it's behind me. I'm not
Easy.
going to make my collector's corner. Anyway, I'm not going to keep getting mad at Star Wars. I
But
love Star Wars.
and well, you know what? Get to your collector's corner because
Okay,
it's
so
your time, bro.
I've been using a lot of these in my photos on Black Series Daily Desk lately. I
Yep.
was always very averse to soft goods, and recently I've acquired. I couldn't even plug where I got them from. It's like random eBay sellers and a friend of mine, but just some figures with soft goods, clothing that I think look really good. This is my favorite, my Rhodian bad guy.
Nice.
That'll be in a bunch of my photos. The Cassian one, the reason why I really love putting this on Cassian in this green jacket is he can hold his blaster like this when you do that.
Oh,
And what I
nice.
like about that a lot is that that's kind of how he holds it in the show and in the movie. He's not like
Yeah.
he's like more tactical. So I really like that on this figure. I wish they'd made this jacket in brown, so I could have kind of just ran with it. But neither here nor there. He's been playing. He doesn't wear the same outfit all the time. Am I right?
Yeah.
Although most people in Star Wars, I love that people are always like everybody has the same outfits in Star Wars, and I'm like, well, right, because those movies all take place over the course of like one day. Although Empire is like 2-3 weeks. That's a whole other thing, or 4 weeks. Anyway, but here's the
I
best
think
one I got.
Empire's over the course of several months, isn't it?
I think Luke was on Dagobah for like 8 weeks, like 6 to
I
eight
was gonna say
weeks.
I
Like,
thought he was on
yeah,
there for like 2 months.
yeah. And what's crazy about that to me is like people don't realize like hyperspace. If your hyperdrive is broken, like you got to travel. It's like traveling through space. It's like being on a ship
Mm.
in the ocean, 100 years ago. But anyway, here's the one that I'm the most excited about. I got this on Amazon actually, but I love this
Oh,
Lando
sick.
figure. But the yellow gets a little aggressive, and I know I always make fun of like in Rise of Skywalker. He's wearing this like
Yeah.
it's Laundry Day Lando. But I love this jacket. It's actually meant for a Baron Zemo Marvel Legends figure. That's what they advertise it as.
Oh,
But it
okay.
looks great on this figure, and it allows me to kind of use him or soon to use him in photos where he can kind of be on an adventure, but not have to be just the yellow cloak thing. And like that fur is just so Lando. It's so
It
Lando.
definitely is. I love the way those look when you do those in your photos for those two,
Yeah.
because like honestly, the cloth comparative to the plastic that it comes with, it just makes it pop way more. Like I know
Yeah.
that I think they're coming out with more cloth stuff on there, especially because we just got the Balin Skull and Shinhati that are coming
Yeah.
out with the cloth capes and everything like that, and it makes them look way better,
Oh,
honestly.
I broke down and bought wired capes for those guys the second I got them.
Oh yeah.
But that's a Josh's Custom Capes. I'll plug that guy any day of the week. He does fantastic work. Go on his Etsy page, Josh's Custom
Oh yeah.
Capes. JCC baby. But yeah, it's fun. I love putting those on the figures for sure.
Nice, man. So, but all right, brother. I do believe that actually wraps us up for today. We did unfortunately have a little bitching and griping to do at the beginning there, but still, overall, at the end of the day, I'm still enjoying this show. I am
Same.
excited to see next week and see the finale. And then, honestly, I'm stoked for next week because we do have Dimitri and Artist here coming on. So it's going to be, like I said earlier, it's going to be a double episode week for us. Please check both of those out when they come out. That being said, you guys can find us on Instagram, as I said already, at Sith Happens _Star Wars podcast. On there, you'll find the link tree, which will bring you to our YouTube, Spotify, and our Amazon Music accounts, which you guys can listen to us in the car, at work, whatever. You could, whether you're watching us, listen to us, we got it all right there. And Matt, my brother, it is good to have you back. Missed you. But as always, my man, sign us off.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Black Series Daily Desk, and I want to say to you, may the force be with you always.
And I am Eric the Dadalorian. You can find me at the _Dadalorian_ on Instagram. And this is the way.